I'm so happy to have you today, David. And
Wonderful.
we're finally doing this and sharing this. So basically, David was invited to my private goddess circle, and we had such a powerful conversation that we decided to just do it live because we were not able to record it at that time. So I am so grateful that we're able to do it today. And just, a quick introduction for everyone to understand. David is a transformational coach, sacred masculinity coach. That's what I call it. And he helps men and women to reconnect with their divine essence and their inner power. And so today we wanted to talk about sacred sexuality and how to master your life force. And I use those terms because you will actually use those terms last time, and you enlightened us a lot about, your perspective on sexuality.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it resonated a lot with, all the women there. It was just incredible. And I've asked you if you worked only with men, and I believe, you can work with women and men. I think this topic is for everyone. This touches everyone
Oh,
in
absolutely. We are
yeah,
all, first of all, sexual beings.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, like my first question to you would be, what exactly is our life force? Does it mean, and how can we reconnect with that?
hmm good question, actually, because that's foundational, right? Life force is what we are.
Hmm.
Metaphysically or spiritually, we are energy. And you hear that a lot in the consciousness expansion, self development world, right? Life force is really another term for the spirit within. It's another term for
Mm,
the God life within, the divine essence in every human being, pushing him or her to expand, growing, and becoming our full potential. Life force starts with a baby being born, developing on its own, all the way to ourselves, me being 40 here, my body is still developing and maintaining itself by itself. And that at the back of that is sexual energy or libido, life force, the very presence, what
mhm.
enables me to speak right now, what enables you to speak right now, that's the life force that pushes through us.
Wow, that's just powerful. That's amazing. And so I guess today, like the biggest struggle we all face, and we're coming back, we're coming back to ourselves, and
I agree.
we're going in a positive way, but it's that disconnection with our life force.
That is actually true. We have been disconnected from the very core of our existence. And like you said, we are on our way back. This is the age of
Mm,
this is the Aquarian age, the age of illumination, the age of knowledge, the age of oneness, or going back to source, that
mhm.
collective connectedness. And so we are on our way back.
Yes. And so how do you mm, help men and women, to reconnect with that life force? What is your tool?
Mhm. That's a macro question. We can
Yeah.
break it down. It has so many components inside of it. Primarily, I help men mostly and women. And since our last conversation, when I told you that I charge only men, but I don't charge women, although I help women do the same work. Actually, since that conversation, I've been reconsidering. I've been thinking about it.
Nice.
I said, well, I said it jokingly, but then there's a seriousness into it. Our goal is to further this work to the point where eventually our, it supports our livelihood, okay, so that we can do more of it.
Mhm.
um, I help men mostly and women primarily to plug leaks into their sexual supply. That is to
Okay.
realize where their libido, the life force, the sexual energy is leaking out of them,
Wow.
plug those leaks. And those leaks could be, for example, a contraction, a stoppage in their sexual flow, an addiction, which is most of the time the case. Our society is full of sexual addictions, and that can range from promiscuity all the way to a full blown. So let's say these days, pornography, and how sexuality, how hypersexual our society is. And then you have men and women actually leaking life force, leaking their energy, their sexual energy into a lot of activities that actually take them further away from the divine, further away from their godly nature. And I
Mm.
primarily help them plug those leaks, as I have done for myself. For years, I leaked my sexual energy into sex addiction, promiscuity, the pursuit of the skirt, all the way to masturbation and pornography. And I have plugged those leaks. And today my energy is flowing. I glow. I am alive. I'm full of life. And then I get to tap into my purpose. And then that is the ultimate work, the
Yeah.
ultimate goal and aim is to get that individual to plug those leaks. Well, once those leaks are plugged, that individual becomes a whole individual. They're able to contain themselves. They're able to contain their emotions, their spirits. They're able to contain and their own identity also. And then eventually that culminates into them discovering the life purpose where now they operate to help society be a better one.
Wow. I just wanted to take a second just to digest everything you
Take that
just
in.
said. Like every time I need to just pause. It's so powerful. And I think what I love the most, what you said last time, what you were talking about, like this chakra system and how
Yes.
reconnecting, like plugging those,
Right.
reconnecting with that sexual energy was through semen retention,
Right.
um, semen's
And sex
retention.
energy
Yeah,
conservation for a woman.
yeah, exactly.
So I can reiterate that for those who were not
That
here, of
that
course.
will be amazing.
Absolutely. You see, the chakra system is a conduit system. It's a energy supply system, and it has many centers. And that's really what the each chakra is a energy center that receives energy from the chakra below, process it, and then shoots it forward to the next chakra, much like we would do on a conveyor belt in a warehouse on a one of those type of system.
Hmm.
And so we have the first chakra, which is the root chakra, the very foundation, the survival system. This is where we fight for our lives. This is where we want to eat, drink, and be comfortable and
Hmm.
use the restroom and do all those things that are very really animalistic at some level. Actually, most of it is the same as the animals.
Hmm.
We eat, we drink, we sleep, we have sex, and we defecate. The animals do the same on that very first, and then we seek for safety on that very first level. We are like the animals, but with the exception that the animals remain, that's deep, it's coming. The animals remain connected to the earth, they remain
Right.
grounded to nature, but we have the ability to uproot ourselves from the ground, from the very core and the essence of the earth by sabotaging our first chakra. And then you have the second chakra, the sacral chakra, the sexual chakra, the creativity chakra. This is where now all the leaks happen. Here is what happens between these two chakras. Any insecurity,
Hmm.
any issue regarding survival, that means I can't eat, I can't drink, I'm not safe, I'm insecure, I'm not grounded, those translate into massive psychological issues that pushes a certain pressure on the individual, and the
Mm.
individual now feels they need to release some kind of tension. And this is where now people say, I'm tense. I need to release some tension, or I'm horny, for example. And a
Yes.
lot of the horniness that we hear often is associated with survival issues. It's because I'm fearful. It's because I have some issues, because I can't eat. My money is not right. I feel fearful. And that tension in me now is translated to my brain, to my system, as horniness. And so I go and be promiscuous. I go and engage into sexual addictions to release that tension. And it's a false promise, because by releasing it, I feel, oh, I feel better now. But those issues still remain.
Right. And they
And so,
come around again.
yes, and that is, well, that's how leaks happen in our sexual system. And so, there most people in our society operate primarily on those two chakras, survival and sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
So they never move, their energy never moves up, all, from the third chakra, which is our solar plexus, our will, our identity. And that's why we have a lot of issues with identity crisis, people not being assertive, people lacking self-confidence, because their life force, their energy never makes it to that energy center that would develop those characteristics and help them to become more whole.
Wow. So so let's say when we have that tension, how do we go about to, not release that tension? When is the, when does the healing happen? How does the healing
It's
happen? Mhm.
I'm laughing because it's serious, but it takes a lot of work, and
Yeah.
this is where the individual fails. It takes inner work, first of all, and I'm glad that you actually said healing. A healing of the first chakra, a healing of our survival mechanisms
Yes.
must take place, right? So, for example, we must decide, look, man, I'm going to take responsibility for my life. That is, I want to have a job. I want to, so I can have some money, a good place to live, and create some conditions where I feel safe,
Right.
so that the tension or the fear or the concern of survival does not create that extra tension in me that
Mhm.
pushes me on the edge trying to release my life
Of
force.
course.
Right. And of course we have, within that, we have childhood traumas to heal, emotional issues, insecurities, attachment issues, because a lot of that, a lot of what we call love is actually childhood traumas, emotional wounds,
Mhm.
identity crisis,
Yes.
survival crisis.
Hmm.
We put together and call it love because we're seeking to escape the pain that results from these issues.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, and that's very so powerful. And at the same time, I feel like within our society, everything is feeding those insecurities and, distracting us from being present with those insecurities.
Yes, and you are correct on that. If you look at our age right now, we have social media, and we have a ton of websites and apps, and I mean the choices are unlimited of
Hmm.
the amount of things that distract us from having to connect to ourselves. And so, Chloe, the majority of us walk around disconnected from our very root, right? And that
Yes.
disconnection puts us into that state of being volatile or vulnerable, or we're all over the place, people would say. I don't feel connected at all.
Hmm.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm all over. And that is a recipe for a lot of leaks in our sexual system. Unfortunately, this is how our society is set up. But as you said earlier, we are moving away from a more
Yes.
whole and wholesome and more divine, more a better consciousness of our divinity. That's what we're really moving towards, and we are Actually, I'm happy as an Aquarius. I'm happy for the Aquarian age. It's my age. It's my
It's your
playground.
time. Yeah.
It's my time.
Mhm.
And that's exactly why we even having this conversation here
Yeah.
right now. Right.
Yes, and it's like it's really the also the reconnection with the, for me, I feel like the inner divine feminine within all of us. So within men, within women, um, and I want to like talk in the name of maybe a lot of women who have a lot of questions around men.
Sure.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why it was so powerful to have you in this circle of only women, because that's what we want is also
I
like,
am blessed.
yes,
Be among
uh,
that energy.
yeah.
I love it.
But we really want to create a dialogue and really come back into oneness, and end that separation between also men and women, and this misunderstanding too sometimes in a lot of relationships. So what I found very interesting that you were, talking in the name of men. You were saying also like for men, it was also reconnecting with their inner feminine to learn how also to communicate, or I want to say hold space for
Mm-hmm.
women, learning to interact better and be maybe better containers. I don't know what's like your opinion on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the many issues that we have in our heterosexual world, men and women relationship,
Mm-hmm.
one of the many is men exacerbating and depleting the sexual energy,
Mm-hmm.
which means they are less masculine. Because the more a man uses his sexual energy, contrarily to some erroneous popular belief,
Mm-hmm.
the less testosterone he has available in his system. And testosterone is the primary male hormone. So imagine if a man has less of that, then he's less of himself.
Right.
He's more emotional. He's more distracted. He's not present. He's not focused. Imagine dating a man like that, right? I used to be that man, right? For many years. And so what happens, that man is unable to hold space for the feminine. He's unable to connect to the feminine because a man can only develop his feminine side or can only reach the place where he's able to connect with the feminine until he has fully traveled the trajectory of the masculine energy. That is holding his masculine energy intact, growing it, developing it, and then afterwards, his feminine side will surely, but slowly, but surely, just creep up upon him. He will just find himself more nurturing, more
Mm-hmm.
expressive,
Mm-hmm.
holding space, more forgiving, more collaborative. Uh, you know how being able to defer, whether it's anger or judgment or impatience, saying, you know what, I'm here, uh, I'm committed, and I'm just gonna give it some time. There's no rush to replace. There's no rush to ditch, and there's no rush to get to the next thing. There's more of a willingness to work here now because that man operates mainly on purpose at this stage.
Mm. Wow. That's powerful. I'm sure a lot of men can resonate with this. Yeah, I found it very powerful, and for women, it's also like I feel we're all reconnecting with that inner divine feminine, because even for women or people who identify with feminine energy, I want to say, because this
Mm-hmm.
might not be, it might not be gender specific, but um, for those who identify with feminine energy and came in this lifetime to embody and experience that feminine energy, I feel it's really like about, reconnecting with their inner feminine, and not only, listening to what society is trying to make us enslave us with.
Mm-hmm.
And even for women, as we talked about previously, we are also learning to be in self-acceptance for ourselves and also honoring our feminine energy and reconnecting with our softness. Because a lot of women struggle with that, dominating female energy, toxic female energy, because we're also in fear, we're also in trauma, we're also, depleting our life force or abandoning ourselves in a way. So I found it very powerful, and I feel it's really something both men and women are experiencing right now.
Yes, you said a lot that can feel actually books or many interviews or many
Hmm.
sessions. I mean, it's macro.
Yes.
We have, we being men and women, have departed from our very natural essence, and
Yes.
like you said, like I said, the men have become more feminine, and it's hard to really operate to connect with a woman when you are more feminine as a man. And it's hard for a woman to operate to connect with a man who's masculine when she operates mostly and mainly in her masculine power. And you have both men and women
Mm,
going around in their opposite energies, and it's hard for them to polarize and come towards each other. If you have a feminine woman who hasn't embodied her femininity,
hmm.
she's dating or in a relation is in a relationship with a man who, through sexual promiscuity or however he depletes his sexual energy, has become very feminized, and now you almost have two feminine energies in that relationship.
And
It's
lack of
trouble, it's a
balance.
problem, right?
Hmm.
And that's one case. The second case is you have a man who contains his masculine power, and you have a woman, no fault of her own, mostly society's fault. She operates a lot or mostly in her masculine power because she's fearful. She has insecurities.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be taken advantage of. She doesn't want her heart to be broken. She doesn't want to be a victim of the orthodox patriarchy, right? The orthodox
Mhm.
patriarchy. She doesn't want any of that to happen. And though now she takes on, well, she develops her masculine
Masculine.
side more, and she becomes a strong, and that's where the terms strong woman comes from, and independent woman comes from.
Yes.
And it's a masculine persona that's being portrayed, but usually on the inside, she's a sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
And she's looking for a man, and of course she goes for a strong man, a man who displays strong masculine energy,
Hmm.
because she identifies that he can cope, he can help her cope, right? But then she still operates in her strong masculine energy, and now you have
Yes.
two strong masculine energy in the relationship, and that creates a problem. The same way it would create a problem in a relationship where you have two mostly feminine energies operate. And so the goal becomes for us to return and go back home through some spiritual practices, through expanding our consciousness, to let go of fears and insecurities. Both sexes have them.
Hmm.
To let go of fears and insecurities, and societal conditioning, where now the man operates more in his masculine energy, and the woman operates mainly in her feminine energy. And of course, they switch as need be. Like I said, in matters of romance, I'm the feminine energy in the relationship, right? In the romantic part of it, but I handle business, right? But then there must be a dance between me and my woman. She must be able to dance. That means she must be able to go in and out of her two sides also,
Right.
because I go in and out of my two sides. And I've had issues in relationships, well,
Mm.
particularly the last one, because of that, right? I'm able to switch back and forth. In romance, the feminine energy, very nurturing. I'm the one who's gonna reach out. I'm the one who's gonna make sure you're okay, to kiss, to give affection, being overly expressive at sometimes. And but then when it times for business, when it times for the my masculine, my true side, which is the masculine side, I'm the man now, right? And of course, if she cannot
Switch
switch
with
hers
you. Hmm.
quickly And even at all, then it becomes a problem because she is mostly always masculine, and I'm going back and forth. And then I did have some issues in the relationship because she's like, well, you're two men, you're two different men, and I'm like, well, it's because you're too masculine, you know.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
connected to the feminine.
yeah,
Hmm.
we couldn't. And in fact, I've been told by a woman that I dated that, well, the, one of our main issues is because you are, in matters of our romance, you're the feminine energy. You express a lot, and a lot of things that you do, I have learned are weakness. And
Hmm.
so I don't want to do those things. Yeah, I may
Right.
need to heal, but I don't want to do them. And so my mind is saying you're being weak, and so I'm repulsed. But really, I want to be like you. I want to do it too, but it's not in me. I can't do it.
Hmm.
That can create a lot of problems. And
Right.
it all goes back to sexual energy
And
maintenance.
balancing both masculine and feminine within us because we have both. And
Yes.
usually our relationship are really teaching us, when we see the imbalance in relationship there, we can see how it's so much like on a spiritual level, it's really soul contracts where we decided to we're helping each other to balance our energies. And so we can find, the balance within the relationship or move to the next partner who's more, more balanced like us as we're always manifesting, what we are inside. I just wanted to clarify for anyone who is tuning in this video. When you say men are more feminine today, more in their not masculine actually because they're so ungrounded. And
Mhm.
so it's not because men are sleeping around or having a lot of women that they are being masculine. They're actually being feminine and very emotional.
Correct. And
Yes,
I'm
and
glad that you actually makes that point. There
mhm,
is there is this uh thing, and this thing where men and women
mhm.
believe the guy who sleeps around the most, the guy who has the most women,
Yes.
is the man. He's the alpha. He
Hmm.
is the man with the energy. He's the man with obviously he has the stake. He has the energy because he's sleeping around. And upon closer analysis, what we actually find is that man usually is doing these things in because he's seeking comfort.
Right.
Because he lacks personal identity. He lacks a sense of purpose. He has some childhood traumas that need to be. He has some underlying psychological and emotional issues that are bothering him, and he's so disconnected from himself, and he's seeking to throw himself on top of the next woman every time he meets one, just like a promiscuous woman would seek to get a man on top of her every time. It's the same scenario. He's not the macho man. And here is the proof. If you look around, you're going to see men, the most successful men are actually short, chubby, not good looking.
Mm.
Most of
Okay.
them. Oh, those are studies. Those are research in the manosphere. We call it the manosphere. You know, the
Right.
sphere of men.
Hmm.
Those are research based studies that have been done. We know this knowledge.
Wow.
Most successful men are chubby, bald headed, not so good looking. And the reason they're so successful is because they are not chosen easily by women. They're not considered to be the alpha men, right? And some of the brokest, if I can use that, and some of the most disconnected, all over the place, confused troublemakers of society, wait
Hmm.
for it, it's coming, are actually tall, skinny, lean, good looking men.
Okay. I see where you're
Prisons,
going. Hmm.
prisons have more of those men. And why? Because those men get chosen by women more easily. They have more sex, and the more they deplete their energy, the less balanced they are, the more out
Hmm.
of balance and out of control they
Mm.
become. And this is where they become more feminine, and those men cannot contain their emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
someone steps on their toes and they shoot that man.
Mm-hmm.
Very disproportionate reaction. If someone steps on your toes, the most normal individuals would do is push that person, right? But you have those men actually shooting that man or punch that man in the face because he steps on his toes, because that man is unable to contain his
Mm.
energy.
So all the men having fights in bars, all the men having fights in fights in jail. It would be, I think it would be funny to give them that knowledge in a sense, because it we
That's a good
see that in,
idea.
yeah, we see that in so much like movies, and all the cultures are like, well, that's masculinity, and I love like how powerful this is. Like this is very powerful.
Well, well, the this is considered pseudoscience, first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
Right. So the mainstream science and media won't embrace this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, just like I have learned in one of my spiritual path studies, error, like truth, has its own admirers. People will admire error. People will applaud error, although
Yeah.
they know it's error, it's true, it's not truth, but they will applaud it because it has its own admirers. Uh, and there is a pushback towards this kind of knowledge. But that's a good idea that men in prison should get this idea. And so, but when you first say these things, or when I first say these things, some men are quick to push back against that. But when you look deeper underneath the surface, when you peel off the layers and you're like, what is this? They're like, oh, okay, where I see. Yeah.
That's amazing, and this brings me to the independent women that we admire, and like the false independent woman, the false strong woman that we see on social media, that we see everywhere, who's very much not in
Mm.
her divine feminine power, but more in her masculine
Yeah.
energy. And we can see as women, I know for me, I was for a long time, and I have, a similar past too, where I was very much before in my masculine energy, and very much, needing um, to feel in control at the end of the day. So um, I think it's very powerful, because even for women, what I'm myself and my work is about is to reconnect them with their sacred feminine, so they understand um, the power of softness, and how they don't need to prove themselves. They don't need to put all those walls in front of them to keep themselves safe, because at the end of the day, it's just hurting, ourselves, and we
It
end up
does.
alone, and we actually are, so much
Mm.
longing for a relationship, for a connection, and with ourselves and others.
Yeah. We have a lot coming. I'm saying we,
Hmm.
our type of work,
Hmm.
because I'm planning to start a segment on my on men's superpower that will be
Yes.
uh, to bring women on and interview them. And this segment that you just touch on, this point you just touch on, I definitely want to keep that in mind.
Hmm.
This particular conversation,
Yeah.
um, it's a it's an issue, but most people don't want to talk about it because we are taught to be sensitive. I guess, well, I mean, we are to be sensitive to the feminine, but we
Hmm.
are taught to sort of overlook a lot of things. And it's hard to talk about, but some people are willing to talk about, and I'm one
Yeah.
of them, and you're one of them. I've experienced that in relationships. It's a need to assert herself. It's a need to protect
Hmm.
herself. It has a lot of fears and psychological issues, unhealed traumas, unhealed emotional issues at the bottom of it as its foundation, and also a lack of personal identity,
Hmm.
a, a sense of disconnectedness from the whole, from the universe. Because a woman, mhm, who's
Yeah. Oh,
connected,
sorry. Go ahead.
who's connected to the divine,
Mm,
feels being compelled to operate in her feminine energy. Um, I've asked women, I've sat down with women and said, well, let's see where the strong, independent woman is. So in this area, you're not strong. She's like, no. In
yeah.
this area,
Mm,
you're not. No. In that area, in that over here. But at work, you're very good at work. You're very good at taking care of your children. Well, I mean, those are survival areas. And so we don't really say, it's like you can take care of them by fear. It's not like you
mm,
get the luxury to decide. Okay. But in those other areas, you're very disconnected and all over the place. So where is this strong bravado persona where it's a cover to keep those wounds from being exposed and being further hurt? But I tell you what, the man who knows, the man who's done the work, the man who, that means the man who has traveled the whole spectrum of his masculine energy and
mm-hmm.
now has tapped into his feminine side, knows how to actually bring that feminine side out of that woman under
Mm-hmm.
that bravado. And usually, here's what happens. It has happened to me. She runs away because as soon as you start talking to her and you
Yeah.
display that whole
Mm-hmm.
self of yourself, it compels her to operate within her feminine side, and she doesn't want to, and it becomes scary.
Yeah.
And she runs away. I've had women who didn't want to orgasm during sex. So I have women who didn't want to kiss for more than 5 seconds because and because the way I touch her, just the way I sit, just my conversation, just being in my presence compels her to step out of that bravado and be feminine. And so if she's not ready, then she runs away.
Yes. That's so powerful.
And I love to bring it out.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's so much in that topic. I mean, even orgasm and the connection with who we truly are and showing ourselves like, in our true essence. Um, I feel like the most common thing, I mean, I can talk from my experience, um, that maybe independent women or overly masculine women struggle the most with. And the reason why they run away, or the reason why we might run away, is the healing that needs to happen,
Correct.
and the vulnerability that we need to face, and the wounding we need to revisit. And so definitely it's kind of, it's a survival instinct at the same time. Like, I love to always, I believe in compassion for ourselves. I believe in
Sure.
patience when we heal, because that's the only way we can really truly make it, with compassion and understanding. But going within that vulnerability and feeling, maybe the powerlessness we felt before when we were children, um, it has, like, it's a whole journey of healing to get to that,
Yes.
harnessing the feminine power and showing up as yourself and not as your persona.
Yes. Hmm. Let's take it back. Yeah. It takes a lot to show up as yourself and not your persona. Let's perhaps clarify for some people who may ask
Yeah.
what the difference is. Your persona is the human identity, the ego, or more so the earthy part of the ego that's in you. The persona is made, and anybody can make it. Being your parents has had their part of it. Society greatly influenced it. School, and then your own experiences and search greatly influence that persona. But yourself is what you are at the very core. It's what you are in connection with the divine, with God, with
Mhm,
the presence. And so, like you said, it takes a lot to be that self instead of the persona.
mhm,
And yes, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place before a woman can let go of that and connect to her divine self, her feminine side. In fact, there's a huge movement right now
Mhm.
out there of women going back to their femininity, of women actually taking a stand against this right now.
Yes.
Because I'm in the field, I'm in the area, I know it. There are a lot of women taking a stand saying, no, we've been sold a lie. Yeah, we've been hurt. We have a lot of issues, but we've been sold a lie.
Yeah.
And we want to go back home. A home is
Mm.
femininity for a woman, and
Mm-hmm.
home is masculinity for a man. In fact, I know this one lady who had a video that says, F the war out of men. It's saying, as
Yes.
a woman, operate into your feminine energy and F the war out of men, because a man has a war in his masculine energy. And if you stay in yours, you'll quench his fire. You'll pour
Yeah.
water on his fire,
Mm-hmm.
and that will take the war out of him. But we must be in our own personal, stay in our own selves and primary energy.
Mm-hmm.
The strongest, truly powerful, most grounded women that I know are women who are very feminine, who operate in their femininity. They have managerial positions, degrees, they make money, they have jobs, but yet they're so gracious, and they operate in that energy. And they're so powerful in the sense that they can change the atmosphere of an environment. And that's where the
Mm.
power lies. When she walks in, she doesn't walk in with that bravado. She walks in with, you know, all that I am, right? But yet I am connected to God. Here is a lot of grace. Here is a lot of mercy. Here is a lot of understanding, a lot of nurturing, a lot of love. And she can shift the atmosphere in a heartbeat. And that makes her very powerful to her men, her children, her environment. It's like her energy is healing in itself. Josiah, when a man operates mostly in his masculine energy, when he walks into a place, he establish courage,
Mm.
strength,
Mm-hmm.
motivation, inspiration. It's like as soon as I step somewhere, or anybody I've personally interacted with, know that if you talk to me, your energy is going to change into being more goal oriented or action oriented or assertive, being more assertive or being
Mm-hmm.
more inspired and motivated. That's the masculine energy, the libido in me coming out, and I change the atmosphere when I step in. It's the same for the truly feminine woman. When she steps in, she changes the atmosphere. If there was fire, everybody calms down. Everybody is now reassured. Everybody knows mama is home, although it may not be a home environment, but everybody knows, yeah. So and so is here. Let's just level out, because she can draw comfort and nurture
Mm-hmm.
from deep within, from her divine core.
Wow. That's so powerful. So basically, when we all reconnect back to our life force, we all become healers for each other.
Yes,
We become
absolutely.
we harness the our healer power, like the divine's power to change energetically a room, energetically the energy of someone else, just by presence.
Yes, just by our very presence, because I mean our very presence really is the physical manifestation of our libido. It's the physical manifestation
Okay.
of the divinity.
Mm-hmm.
We are each here as a specific uh, representation and part of the infinite divine, right? And so we are just a physical manifestation of that. There is an energetic, albeit invisible, resonance between me and you. So when you walk into a place, there is an understanding, an unconscious, energetic understanding that happens between my energy and your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we are able to shift atmosphere and shift environment. And we are to endeavor to actually heal ourselves, do these works so that we can step into our power, so that we can actually influence positively environment. Because believe it or not, we do influence environments when we operate in our
Mm-hmm.
negativity. We're going to do it. Some people walk into a room, everybody gets sad, everybody's
Yeah.
on tension, everybody's is walking on eggshells now.
Mm-hmm.
So we must endeavor to flip that, where we influence more positively and healthily now.
So we take responsibility for our energy. We take responsibility for what is
Yes,
emanating from us.
it's life force management, we call it.
Mm-hmm.
You manage yourself. Basically, you are to be managed. Your life force must be managed.
Right. That's
Very
powerful.
unpopular.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's also like a whole world, like a spiritual world. I don't know if you've heard of the the tantric worlds. Yeah, and there's also even in the spiritual community, a lot of false beliefs basically.
Mm,
And in the tantra world, which I've been connecting to the past years, there's a lot also of misconception in regards to sacred sexuality and people doing all sorts of things, weird things just to in the name of, freedom without the understanding of freedom of who they are.
mm,
And so what I found interesting in what your message and that I
mhm,
really like and the grounded conscious man you are is that actually sacred sexuality or whatever we call it,
mm,
the dance between masculine and feminine and the
mm,
communion, the union,
mm,
is really about us being authentic at the end of the day. There's no meditation ways or really there's tools for us to connect with that,
mm.
but it's about showing up as who you are in bed or in your, in intimacy or in your life and with your partner.
Yeah. Dang. You said, yeah. Yeah, yeah. We'll continue talking because there's a lot to explore. And of course,
That's
it's not without reason that you and I came in contact. Believe it or not, I'm a creator on YouTube and I go on YouTube.
same.
I don't personally contact a lot of creators and
Hmm.
pursue it. I basically pursued this. I basically manifested it, if you will, because that's exactly what it was from my first comment all the way to
Hmm.
Instagram, WhatsApp, and this year, here it is at the end of 2020 of our year. But we love it that we are ending this year on this note. So tomorrow, I will be doing a podcast with Victoria, and we'll do one, and we're planning
Amazing.
on have many others. And what we'll be talking about is actually masculine body image, and I will tell my story on how I've overcome body image issues, accepting having to heal and to accept my body. Uh, so I'm saying this to connect with you on when you said show up in the bedroom as ourselves. I like to say there is a lot of shame in the bedroom. I've dated women who
Yeah.
did not like the way they look, and I'm using liking, but it was more like
Oh.
hated
Hmm.
the way they looked. And so, hmm, here I am, a very romantic man. Here I am talking about her face or some part of her body that I am genuinely in love with, that I love to look at, love to touch or kiss or lick or whatnot.
Hmm.
But she's so uncomfortable with it and she's so disconnected with it. And here I am talking about that part, and here I am kissing that part. And I remember I didn't find out until 3 years in a particular situation that the woman didn't like her butt. She didn't like, she wanted a different butt she wanted. And here I was for the first 3 years in the relationship in total admiration of her butt. Because according to her, she doesn't have enough. It's not well shaped. But for me, it was the chemistry between me and her. The chemistry makes me feel like I don't know anything about size shape that you're talking about. I just feel like I'm drawn to your whole being, your whole body. And this is one of the places that I love to kiss, like literally just
Mm.
bend down and kiss it at any given moment, whether it's in the pants or outside of the pants. And it took me a minute to realize actually that was each time I did that, that was rehashing or bringing back her own insecurities about herself. And no wonder she used to push me away a lot. And so we have to get into life force management, manage our energy, heal ourselves so that we show up in the bedroom as ourselves, and men too. I grew up being called, being, in school, that being told that I have rabbit ears. That means my ears it extends out, but that's not true at all. I've grown and realized that's not true at all. And I have somewhat not knees, and I grew up being called not knees. It seems like, where if a man had bow legs, then he was more acceptable than if he has not knees, so to speak. And it took me my early 20s to actually look into the mirror and say, "Whoa, this guy is handsome. This guy ain't got no ears, rabbit ears issues, no not need. This is how I walk." And believe you me, some women find how I walk sexy, and they're drawn to it. And I begin to embody that. I begin to accept how I looked. My muscles don't pop out like some men, but that's me. But I'm telling you, as soon as I've embodied that, I've become so attractive to myself, first of all. And just embodying that brings out a swag that you didn't know. And when you walk around, it's like you're flowing on in the air, and people are drawn to you. And that starts a whole new experience. And so I've had to do that so that I can show up in the bedroom confidently. Look, man, I don't have six packs. I would love to. I'm working towards it, but it's not naturally how my body comes.
Yeah.
But my little belly is hard. This is me. And the funny thing is, the moment I became very comfortable with it, is the moment now I realize, oh, well, these women never had a problem with it to start with. It was in me. And it's the same thing for the women.
Yeah.
We have women who are busy telling men, oh, the pictures that you saw is not really all me now. I don't really have butt. I don't really have big boobs. That was a push-up bra. And the man is like, what are you talking about? Why are you giving me that disclaimer? And that's how it is. And this is why I'm so happy. I have to tell you, I'm thrilled to be doing this work. This work is going far. And I am dedicated to spend the rest of my life, well, really God's life, doing this work, because I've witnessed a lot of suffering. Not only personally, I've suffered, I've had experiences with women, and I have a heart to participate in the healing, in the change, through my message, through my inspiration, and through my motivation.
Wow. Thank you so much for this conversation today. That was just powerful. And I just wanted to ask a last question, like if you had any advice for anyone who was wondering how they can, balance more, or, take it one step towards healing their life force, for example.
The first step towards healing, I'm glad you said the life force, is really to take some time out to reconnect by just being present, first of all, and to realize that you are here, not on the TV, not on the app, on social media, but before you're all over doing those things, you are first and foremost right here. And right here, there's a lot happening. And one of the many things that's happening is the life force is going in and out of you as your breath. And the life force is also regulating your blood flow, your cells, and your whole body is changing by itself. And it's the divine and God within you moving and taking care of those things. And if you can set 15 minutes or 20 minutes a day aside just to be present and connect to that, in itself, it will become a wave that will pick you up, and you will continue riding it into feeling more connected, more presence, and you will begin to value your life force more. And then you get into doing other work, get into further steps to plug energy leaks in your system.
Thank you. Just the word presence. How do you pronounce it? My baby felt it.
We can't wait for the baby. We'll be like, yo, you've been spiritual in your
Yes.
mom's belly.
Yes.
There's a lot, and for, congratulations. And I did say congratulations to
Thank
your
you.
fiance. I do, yeah, maybe we'll reserve that. But since it comes, I do think that you are one of the most genuine spirits and one of the chosen and called in this generation. I like to say, look, man, if I pursue a contact with you, or uh, if I want to be in touch with you, there is that higher consciousness and divine resonance. And here we are. It's great. The second episode, I'm looking forward to more, and I'm looking
Oh,
forward to having you on my side as
I would
well.
love that. Thank you. Thank you. I would love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to close off this, yeah, I'm just mind blown by the conversation. Thank you so much for coming. I hope everyone had, an amazing value, got amazing value from this, because this for me was already like amazing. And I'm looking forward connecting with you again. And I'm
Sure.
wishing everyone a beautiful day. Let us know in the comment section how you felt about this. And please feel free to comment, share the message if this resonated with you. And yeah, we'll be back soon.
Yes, we'll be back soon. It was great being here. I was looking forward to it. I hope, not I hope, actually, whoever watches this
Mm-hmm.
just now or in the future will be blessed. And we only scratched
Yes.
the surface, really.
Yeah. There's so much under the surface for sure.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to our next sessions.
Yes. Thank you.
Until
Wishing you a
next
blessed
time.
day.
You
Thank you
too.
so
Thank you.
much.
Uh huh. All right.